Okay, good evening, everyone. And I'd like to bring this regular town council meeting of January 25th to order. Oh, the first thing we'll do is take a look at our agenda. Need a motion to adopt the agenda. Councillor Brodziak, is there any additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Now we'll move down to the minutes of our last regular council meeting. Looking for a motion to adopt those. Councillor Barry, thank you very much. Is there any errors or omissions within those minutes? Seeing nobody frantically waving their hands. All those in favor? Carried, thank you. Let's let everybody know that Councillor Warwa is having a bit of a problem with her internet and tools at the office. She's trying to get in. She may end up just phoning in here shortly if she can't get through. Okay, so our first delegation is from the Vegreville Transportation Services Society. And Sandra, can you let him in?
How's it going?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Dwayne, you are going to be using video or not?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
You still don't have any video, but that's fine. First of all, welcome. And who will be doing the speaking to start?
Put it this way. I'm not sure why the heck we're here.
Okay.
So you tell us why we're here.
Well, probably because we missed you guys, but
Yeah, you want to see how we're doing, yeah?
yeah. So let's say that we were going to have a follow-up meeting after Elaine's presentation.
Okay.
And so have you guys had a regular meeting since that presentation, Elaine?
Where is Elaine? Elaine's not in there? Huh.
We actually have not.
Okay.
Yeah, no. With the COVID restrictions and that, we haven't had the opportunity to meet yet.
Okay, so what can someone tell me about this meeting? Where are we going? Is it just a follow-up, or you had no presentation for tonight?
Nope.
Oh. Okay, Councillor Barry.
Well, I believe that we were expressing an interest in council of meeting with you folks to see how things were going, to see how the year had taken place, particularly with the COVID problems, and how you feel things are looking going forward. We had a very good presentation last year prior to budget, and
Yeah.
I think we were just sort of discussing that might be a nice thing to have on an annual basis.
Oh, okay.
You all.
Yeah, that's no problem. With this COVID thing, we have slowed down a little bit because there aren't as many appointments and stuff like that. But we're still going. And I seen Elsie the other day, and there isn't much happening. You know, like with the essential stuff is happening, like going to the retina clinic and getting the shots and stuff like that. That stuff is happening. But she's picking up a few more, like in town deliveries, trips. But that's not that we take that. If we would have a trip to Edmonton, that would go to the back burner. That's the only thing. But I'm not sure what the numbers are for the last 2 months. But I know our taxi voucher program has been, I think the total has come up a little bit due to the weather and people being at home and stuff like that.
So I do apologize because we aren't as prepared as we should be, I guess, is that we didn't realize that we were going to present to you today. And so I apologize for that. Because we're at our year end right now. And so we're having to have our books all audited and everything. So we haven't quite got the year end stuff done. Definitely, we have struggled, like everybody with the COVID restrictions for sure. Thankfully, we've been able to maintain Elsie as our driver. She definitely has stuck with us, I guess, even though there has been some concerns. So we had to do some different arranging earlier in the spring around pickups, and we did suspend driving and pickups for a while. We definitely have had to implement the cleaning protocols, excuse me, the masks, all of those sorts of things to ensure the safety of our drivers and our passengers. So yeah, things are a little bit down as far as usage is going this year. Of course, our van is getting older, and so we are having more and more repairs with it around just because it's getting older. And we are looking into the possibility of purchasing another vehicle in the near future. We definitely have taken suggestions into consideration around how we were managing our voucher program, as well as how we were using the handy van for out of town trips. And so we do have some money saved towards our vehicle as well. And so, yeah, so the year has been interesting. Definitely the ability to fundraise has been down. And the ability to do that. So we truly appreciate the grant from the town, as well as the one that we just received from the county. And so yeah, interesting year, and looking forward to some possible improvements, hopefully, with COVID restrictions being reduced, hopefully, with the vaccinations and all the safety stuff, and life coming to a new normal. And so yeah, so I'm not sure what other information we can help you with.
Well, when Elaine made her presentation, there was a few points that we sort of touched on moving forward regarding your service, and they were all good points.
Okay.
So we'll start with Councillor Lemko. He has one right now that he could bring up.
Okay.
Yes, in discussions with our physicians in town, there's a suggestion that the possibility of them being able to group, let's say group visitations to, let's say, Vermilion or Camaros, and the ability to do that on a Thursday or a Tuesday to make appointments. Now, would you folks be able to facilitate that from a transportation perspective? Like, I don't know how many people you can transport in one trip.
So Elaine or Dwayne, do you want to?
Okay, that right now, I would venture to say that our front seat or our passenger seat is empty because of COVID. If we didn't have the COVID thing, we would be able to haul 3 people at one time in that van. There would be.
Is that with the person though that has to support them?
No, that's just bodies, just total bodies.
Okay.
Because if there's somebody with a wheelchair, there has to be a helper there, so that automatically counts as 2. And then there would be one other person that can be sitting in the back, and then one person sitting in the passenger seat, like in front. But with COVID, we can't do that. All we're doing now basically is one person, one trip.
And I think, Dwayne, in all fairness, is this would be post COVID. The doctors think that it may be better for the community if the service was provided that they would line up more people for Vermilion on that day, or more people for and again, this is COVID, after COVID,
After
post-COVID.
COVID, yeah, okay, post-COVID, yeah, because that wouldn't be a problem as long as we can get it. The way it works now is people will take and call and book the van. Okay, and if we've got to take and book it, let's say for Thursdays or whatever, then we'd have to be able to schedule it with the rest of the people. They'd call up and would say, sorry, but Thursdays are booked. You know, that's our Camrose run or whatever it is. It would be just like weekends because we don't run on weekends. You know, so it would be just another day that we wouldn't be able to do that.
But the potential exists that it could happen with some.
Oh, yeah. Oh, most definitely. Yeah, no, not saying no to it, but it's just, yeah, that would be a good idea.
Well, it means like 3 people are going to an appointment versus 1 person going.
Yeah, yeah.
And then the next day, another one going to the same place for another appointment. So they're willing to make it work. If you guys can set up something, or we can set up something with you. I think there's some potential there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're definitely gonna talk more about that with
Okay.
the doctors and with you guys for sure. And I mean, we know that you're probably gonna be needing a new van pretty soon, and we recognize the fact that you've not had a lot of opportunities in the last little while to fundraise.
But we
Well,
have been
we'll
smart.
take Yeah.
Sorry,
Yeah.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
Can you hear
Yeah.
me?
Yeah,
Okay.
Yeah.
I do apologize, Tim. I did not, when I presented in November, that's what we thought was our yearly presentation.
Mhm.
So if we're ill prepared today, I apologize. I really wasn't sure what today was about.
Well, you don't need to apologize. It's a bit of a follow-up. And we just want to move forward. First of all, that we support what you guys do. And there was some conversations at your presentation, and we just want to follow up and make sure that moving forward, if we can make the synergies work with the medical clinic and your services to Camrose and to Vermilion, it just seems like we're enhancing what you do in a positive direction for the community. And we just wanted to follow up on a few of these things with you all. I mean, this is nothing bad or anything, believe me.
Oh, no.
Councilor Rudy.
I think going forward, I think what would be really beneficial is if we could put in, and I get it, committees are made for the year, but if we could put in a request to possibly have a member of council on our board. You are such huge contributors to our organization. I think it would be really beneficial communication-wise.
I agree. And we've talked about that prior, and it would be good because in that way you get an idea of what's going on. And it doesn't take much of time either, because we meet for about an hour a month. That's about it. You know, so it's not a time sucker when it comes to a committee.
Well, I can tell you this, that we'll have that conversation, but moving forward with your services, if there's a little bit more that we can expand on it to help more people in our community, I know we're probably one of the biggest funders there, and we do have some ideas, and we want to work with you, your committee. So having representation would probably be a positive thing on your board. So.
Yeah.
Councilor Rudick has another one she'd like to bring up during our conversation that we had with Elaine. That was something that we felt was important.
Well, thank you all for doing what you do always, and particularly this year, it's been very challenging. So thank you very much for providing that support to the community. So one of the things that always pops up for council is transportation provision, and that's particularly challenging in a rural community. And you know how tight your resources are for time and for the driver, and just making sure that we can facilitate succession planning, whether that means that at some point there might need to be 2 vehicles or 2 drivers, or what that looks like moving forward, because it might be some time. And the other part of that would just be making sure this council has made it a priority to be welcome and inclusive. And that means that we're including all different types of economic brackets, age ranges, and making sure that people can continue to live in the community. So we want to make sure that we help you to be able to deliver that to our citizens as best we can.
Yeah, I don't see any problem with that.
Well, succession planning is big.
Yeah,
And we all know how many hours Elsie puts in there, and
yeah,
Elsie pulls the pin on you guys someday, that may be a big problem.
We are in trouble if the driver,
Yeah.
we have looked and tried to find alternate drivers for sure, because we do not pay her. Actually, we give an honorarium, which is not a lot for the time that she puts in. And so it's been very difficult to try and find somebody who would do similarly. If we actually had to pay a driver like $15 minimum an hour, we would not be in business very long, just simply because we couldn't afford to do that. We might have to look at different ways of providing services if we were going to do something like that. Definitely, yeah, we are very concerned about having a driver in the next few years. Elsie's still wanting to do it, no problem. But there are times when she's sick, and then when if she wants holidays or things like that. So definitely succession is huge.
yeah, because I've been covering for her, like if she needs to go out for medical or something like that, I take and I drive. So we're not stuck, but it's not something that I want to keep doing all the time either.
Well, and it's a little bit of a conflict of interest.
Well, yeah, but I mean, at least it keeps it going, eh?
That's
You know,
it,
the
yeah.
wheels don't fall off.
Yes.
Well, I guess more than anything, after your presentation for the budget purposes, we just feel that maybe we haven't taken enough interest as a council in what you guys do there, and maybe there's some input from ours and from yourselves that the service can just take that one more step up and be more active in the community. Or we just feel that it's worth having more of a conversation regarding the direction you're going. So, and the fact that we appreciate what you guys do is the biggest reason that we feel that some input from council may be a little bit of helpful, because there's a lot of people here that got some good ideas too. So,
Mm-hmm.
And we would welcome
Oh yeah, most definitely.
suggestions for sure.
how often do you guys meet?
Once a month. It's what is it? It's usually the third Thursday of the month or something like that.
Yeah, at 4:00 right now, but we've adjusted time depending on.
Yeah, availability. Because we were doing it at 11 and then we changed it to 4:00.
Does anybody else have anything else they wanted to bring up regarding our last conversation? Well, okay. Sorry to put you guys on the spot there tonight.
Oh, no, that's okay. That's okay. You should have seen the phone lines going here a while ago before we, asking, what's going on, or do anybody know, or whatever. So, but no, it's all's good. All's good.
Well, sometimes when we have presentations or we have conversations and things fall through the crack and we don't follow up, this is part of our ongoing we're trying to reach out again. And Shannon Stubbs is on the line. Just joking.
So, Tim,
Yeah.
I'm just wondering if it would be beneficial if just taking away and making some jot notes in terms of the ideas that you're proposing, just so that we're all kind of on the same page. If we're talking about, I guess, let's. Are we talking just specific communities, Camrose, Vermilion, or are we, I guess, just so that we all are basically on the same page and discussing the same thing and what possibilities we could come up with.
And again, a lot of this stems from the conversation that we just had with the doctors. And they know when they book someone an appointment that it could be a problem for that patient to get there, and they know that your service is usually full up, especially in COVID times, where only one person can fit in the van.
Yeah.
But moving forward, Elaine, I do believe that we need to have a conversation and look at a few different options and try to come up with the best for everybody here. If the
Right.
doctor's concerns can be met, and if it puts more people in the van, which is an opportunity for more income for you guys, and you know, we got to look at all the options, I believe. So,
And I guess I think of in the timing, you know, as we are talking and discussing about another vehicle, I don't want to be getting ahead of myself. You know, should we perhaps be looking at something a little bigger?
shoot for the stars. That's what I would tell you.
You know, that's, you'd hate to go through all that time and expense and then 6 months down the road go, oh, if we would have known, we would have. So
Yeah.
I think that's just, it kind of falls in good timing with the fact that we are starting to look at another one in the near future.
I agree with Elaine there.
Well, I won't hide the fact that after you were left, council talked about your operation and the need for a better transportation system for citizens of this community. And do we want to take it on ourselves? And the answer is no. But where you already have a solid foundation to work from, maybe we can just enhance it with some conversations and at least looking at some possibilities.
Right.
Fair enough.
Okay. So we'll have a conversation about putting a rep on your board. And if that doesn't go that way, we may put a bit of an ad hoc committee together where we get together over the next little while here and plans to move forward with your operation. Nobody would be opposed to that?
Yeah, because that we have discussed, I think, previously at a couple months back about the size of the van, because it's getting to the point where we are going to need a van. And we had somebody come in with a bigger van and we were tossing it around, you know, whether it would be usable. So this is good. Getting this information here now is good. That gives us more ideas, you know, more stuff to do. So I appreciate it.
Okay, so we'll definitely reach out to you guys again here shortly.
Okay.
Either with a rep on your board for now or a little ad hoc committee to sort of take a look at a couple of different options, the way that things will be moving forward. And that way we can cover some bases with the needs at the clinic, the citizens that are going to some other appointments, and just overall transportation for the citizens that need it here. So,
All right. No, that sounds good.
does anybody else have anything they want to bring forward now? Okay, I'd like to echo what Councillor Lemko and Councillor Rudick both said too. We really appreciate what you guys do over there. So I want you to remember
Appreciate
that.
it.
Okay. Thank you, and we'll get back to you.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening. Well, there we go. So next up, Phil Rowe.
Thank you, Your Worship and council members. I have a request for council decision. The topic is Contractor Health and Safety Policy number OHS-5003. And the proposal for town council to approve the town of Vegreville's Contractor Health and Safety Policy number OHS-5003. The background: the town of Vegreville's occupational health, safety, and environment management system demonstrates our commitment to protect and promote the health, safety, psychological, and social well-being of all our employees, visitors, contractors, our community, and our environment. The Contractor Health and Safety Policy number OHS-5003, adopted by Town Council, is the municipality's health and safety management policy for contracted services to the town of Vegreville as required under Part 1 of the Alberta Occupational Health and Safety Act, SA 2017, Chapters O-2.1. As per the Occupational Health and Safety Audit Guidelines, the Contractor Health and Safety Policy, OHS 5003, must be periodically reviewed and approved by Town Council. The policy has been reviewed by the OHS advisor, Adam Denine, and myself on November 25th, 2020. There are, the changes are very minimal. There was just some changes to a proper reference to the Occupational Health and Safety Act and some grammatical changes that needed to be made, but there was nothing in any detail that was changed. There's no financial implications to this. Communication strategy, department managers and supervisors will be noted through the OHS advisor, and all Town of Vegreville Health and Safety manuals be updated with the current signed policy. The public will be informed through the Town of Vegreville's website. Recommendations being made that Town Council approve the Town of Vegreville's Contractor Health and Safety Policy number OHS 5003, and the policy is attached for your reference.
Okay, I'll be looking for a motion. Councillor Barry. Any discussion? I actually read this thing, Phil, and there's a lot of points to do with contractors, which I'm glad. I mean, I remember 10 years ago, people working for the town, and there's a lot more safety issues now with contractors, how they get in on the job and how they leave it. So, well done.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, any other comments? All those in favor? I'd like to welcome Councillor Warwa to our meeting. You finally found some internet?
Thank you, Worship. And I'm going to do a shameless plug for the Town of Vegreville because I learned a lesson tonight. So we should remind anybody looking to work virtually or put their business. There's a great reason in Vegreville because we have stable, reliable internet, which was why I was not on because I lost my internet service. So thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Rudick, are you going to be doing the economic development portion here?
I guess in the absence of having a manager currently, that falls to me by default, and I will rely on the CAO to provide additional information. So unless you want to read it, Cliff?
I can certainly read it for you. That's not a problem.
Sure, maybe I'll defer to you. I talk enough always at these meetings.
This is a board motion that was made at the Vegreville Economic Development Advisory Board, and it's regarding the ZAG Creative General Awareness Campaign to continue the campaign from February through April 2021. So Economic Development engaged ZAG Creative to develop a general awareness campaign intended to attract economic development opportunities with key stakeholders by attracting residents and businesses to the community. ZAG, in conjunction with Lono, launched the campaign initially for a 3-month period commencing mid-October 2020 through January 2021. The campaign involved a number of digital media ads together with email signatures, which are directly linked to Vegreville, choosevegreville.com, being the economic development microsite. ZAG and Lono presented a general awareness campaign update as at December 31st to the Economic Development Advisory Board meeting on January 14th and to Town Council at their January 19 Legislative Committee meeting. At this point, the campaign has been operating for 2.5 months and will continue through the month of January 2021. The preliminary results are very positive, and the Economic Development Advisory Board would like to continue the campaign for 3 months to April 30th, 2021. This will provide a full 6 months of data and 1 month for the new Economic Development Manager to review the campaign and results. So the recommendation from the Vegreville Economic Development Advisory Board is to continue the general awareness campaign with ZAG Creative and Lono for the months of February through April 2021 at a cost of $10,400 plus GST per month. These fees would be part of the CARES grant project, part of the aftercare services. And this is from Tanine Rudick, Chair, Vegreville Economic Development Advisory Board. So the board had made a motion recommending to council that the campaign continue for 3 more months, being February through April. The costs are covered through the CARES grant, and it is, and these are very applicable to the CARES grant. So,
Sorry,
for discussion.
Sorry, cut you off, Cliff. I was just muted there. I'm looking for a motion for this recommendation. Councillor Waters, thank you very much. Okay, any discussion? Councillor Waters.
From the presentation at our legislative meeting, it was really nice to see the results that have been generated. And it's only been 2.5 months they've been doing this. I think it's very important to continue with that momentum. A lot of people are on social media right now and they're Googling and tracking whatever they can, some just to pass the time, but still it's putting Vegreville in the forefront of their minds. So the more that it's out there, the more we're going to be remembered. I don't remember who it was, but a long time ago, I was told in advertising that you have to keep advertising, keep plugging it until people get tired of it. People aren't tired of hearing about Vegreville yet, and we are definitely not tired of promoting it. So the extension would be, I think, would be very favorable right now.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else? Well, I too was impressed with ZAG Creation and some of the numbers, and I'm not a big social media guy, but the fact that a lot of people are looking at the site and visiting Vegreville, and you know, I don't know how it works, how many hits you need to get one good result, but the fact that moving forward here, the next 3 months will be very important, and the CARES grant will cover it. And our new economic development person coming in will be able to sit down and take a look at the numbers and maybe make a recommendation should we extend it. So I think it's a good opportunity right now for the community. So I will be supporting. Councillor Rudick.
I think everybody has heard me say many times that we can't accidentally expect people to come to Vegreville. And just like Councillor Warwa said earlier, we have so many assets in Vegreville, it would be a shame to just assume that people will end up here accidentally. And we've seen a lot of anecdotal evidence, and even just our last Economic Development Board meeting demonstrating the increase in house sales in the last 4 months, for example, indicate that there are a lot of households that are considering big changes. And whether they're a COVID refugee is what they're calling them, or somebody that's a senior looking for a high quality of life, or somebody that's a family, we welcome them all. And we need to be able to share what's so special about Vegreville and why we love living here and why we think it's so valuable. So I do feel like advertising is important. And one of our board members pointed out too, that 20 years ago, Camrose is sort of in the same situation that we are. And if we want to be able to build to the future and keep some of the great things that make us special and unique, we need to be able to share that, and advertising is the way that we need to do it.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Barry.
Yeah, I'd just like to echo that. I think they're expressing it very well. I was very impressed by the numbers that they were presenting. And I have to say, I think that it's a very professional campaign. So I think it's doing the job that it's supposed to do. And I think it should continue for another 3 months. It's very impressive.
Councillor Brajak.
I also want to mention that the timing is right with this, to continue the advertising, especially with the our development of the Southeast 17 that will be starting in the spring. So it is important that we keep the momentum and promote our town.
Okay, thank you. Oh, we have a motion on the floor for the recommendation. All those in favor? Carrie, thank you very much. Okay, so what's not on our agenda, and we said we were going to talk about it, was name the industrial park campaign that we wanted to put forward. Did anybody come up with any ideas? Well, I've thought about prizes, and I think 1 year pass to the pool, a library card, and maybe some chamber bucks should be involved in the winner of the Name This Park contest. Everybody else, Councillor Rudick?
I was just going to say, I think that's along the lines, rewatching our last meeting, and the greater suggestion, while fun, I think gave rise to concern from some of our administrative staff. So more realistically, if we can do an everything Vegreville package, whether it's chamber bucks or ensuring that we provide all the fun stuff that it needs to be part of Vegreville. So bring a kubasa, lunch with the mayor. Maybe we can have a few extra things.
Very well said, yes. So when do you think this campaign should start? March? Councillor Brajak?
I think as soon as possible.
Okay.
We'll be having shovels in the ground before you know it. So I think that we need to get on this quite quickly.
So February to May 1st, is that a good timeline? Councillor Rudick.
If I could suggest that maybe we give some of those administrative tasks to our administrative staff, that might be a bit long, that we would want to drive the interest and the excitement in the community for long enough, but not too long that they get tired of it. Just as Councillor Waters said earlier, that we need to be able to advertise in a way that's productive and make sure that we encourage even the involvement. I'm not sure. There was a tourism course, for example, that's been offered at the high school before. That might be an opportunity to engage with those students, but there might be a few different ways to be able to allow administrative to come back with a couple suggestions. But I think in the build up to the actual building in that time frame, February to March, sounds great. I'm just not sure on the timeline, and we can give that to our staff to deliver some of those.
Cliff, go ahead.
We'll put together a process, and hopefully we have it at the February 2nd Legislative Committee with some timelines for you.
Okay.
Okay.
Excellent. Okay, so we're through the working portion. Let's go to councillor reports. And we're going to start with Councillor Warwa.
Thank you. As typical, a lot of my meetings like to come up around the same exact time. So looking back onto January 13th, I was part of the museum ad hoc committee. So I think I will leave that one for a few of the other members to speak a little bit more towards. But on January 18th, I had a VTAB meeting. Just a couple of things that I wanted to highlight. There's the number of initiatives that we're working on, and one of the things is, of course, a few positions that might become available, making sure that we have those filled, as well as we've been working quite a bit with the Vegreville visual artists. So we're going to see a lot of that moving forward, and kind of trying to figure out what is the best thing to do when trying to plan for a year in tourism, when nobody knows exactly what events will be able to go online. So one of the we had a number of items that we were discussing, but we did kind of a review of some of the old previous things we had gone through. And, we reiterated what we talked about at one of our last meetings, was the fact that I think a number of the things that we've decided to do, not by choice, but by force a little bit with the situation of COVID, has worked out really well, and that we look to continue to want to do those same things in the future. And that includes, some interest in the way our Halloween activities went on, when you think that there was over 700 people involved there, looking back at, they also got good feedback even through tourism as far as our very Vegreville Christmas. And it seemed that I would like to commend in a way our community that the ice sculptures that were in, and even the people doing the work had sort of indicated that, you know, stuff like this gets done but doesn't stick around very long. But I think it's a pretty good thing to see that, you know, we were in the community and we didn't have people, you know, choosing to go up and vandalize or whatnot. And there's a lot of reply back that they'd like to see this happen in the future. One of the issues I wanted to just highlight in tourism, though, is and I am bringing this forward with our MLA. I've had a few small discussions, but some of the funding that has gone out as the COVID recovery funding seems to have not found its way towards the tourism. Even through Tourism Alberta in discussions with some of our board members, it seems that there has been funding relief reached out to municipalities, particularly larger municipalities, and it seems like once again they're missing tourism and missing the market that rural tourism is a big thing. So we're going to kind of continue to push that forward. I did reach out to the MLA and she is going to get back to me with some additional information. So I just wanted to bring that one. On January 19th, we had an FCSS meeting, and there was a number of different initiatives that we spoke to on that. I won't hog all of it as well. I know Councillor Lundko will be able to add a few additional things in. Again, on that one there, we one of the things that I wanted to bring forward was that our COVID-19 well-being survey is online and available on the town website under the news section. And the other thing is that there's several grants that we discussed that they will be looking at, and there's quite a bit of focus through the FCSS right now to keep dealing with preventing and addressing family violence, particularly now through COVID. One of the concerns that was brought forward, and we have sent it off to get some additional information, is we're seeing some of these grants that are becoming almost a two-step grant. So it's a federal grant, but you have to basically apply first for intent before finding out whether you can apply for the grant. So it becomes like this big multi-step, and it's quite a bit to expect when you think about the different resources that they're putting on people. So we're going to be working on that one. Of course, on the 19th, I also attended the meeting with our MLA. And on the 21st, I guess I would say this initiative might have come somewhat coordinated through VTAB, through the chamber. Councillor Lundko and I attended a meeting that included Myron Pizek, and we talked about the possibility for, I think there has been some approach to multiple councillors, but the possibility of being able to work with some Ukraine departments with some technology that allows you to bring people into the community. So particularly the aspect they talked to us about was that through the use of this technology, if you were to have, the example was something like hockey brought in, and you had, say, a junior A team or a team that had international players, that through this technology, one aspect was the ability to be able to coordinate all the things that are needed to facilitate that person being there. So that would include, if we were talking about youth hockey, it would include everything from, assistance with travel over, assistance with the immigration type of documents that would be needed, assistance with the online links to learning. And the idea behind this is that it's one aspect or component, but that there might be an ability for a town to, looking to grow by thinking outside of the box, that there isn't a possibility to even have a building that can coordinate all the kinds of people that you might want to bring into the community. So if you're looking to bring people, that are wanting to take some schooling, that can be done through, through the use of online, and you're bringing them into your community. You could target certain people for certain specialties. You can, and then the idea there's tourism spinoff, and it showcases your community. So, I'm going to share with council. I don't believe all of council has a presentation, but we'll forward it to everybody, and then maybe be able to discuss it a little bit longer at a legislative meeting, because there's quite a bit to this one. And then tonight's regular council meeting. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Brajak.
Sorry about that, I was muted. On January 14th, we had our Chamber of Commerce board meeting where we discussed the upcoming AGM in February. And that will, I think you should be getting an invitation, Your Worship, to swear in the new board. I don't think there's been a date selected yet. There's also been discussion about what types of fundraising ideas that the Chamber can do this coming year. They were very successful with the Christmas radio auction. That might be a good way going forward rather than the Christmas party and the auction. Might be a good way to separate the two and go back to having a Christmas party with a comedian. I think that was about it for the Chamber. On January 14th, we had our Vegreville Economic Development meeting. And of course, we had the presentation from ZAG Creative that also subsequently presented to council at our legislative committee meeting. And that was regarding the advertising campaign that we discussed here, going to continue for 3 months. On January 19th, our legislative committee meeting, as well as council met with our MLA Jackie Armstrong Hominiuk, and tonight's council meeting.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Waters.
Okay, on January 13th, I had a CALS meeting, Community Association for Lasting Success. Just a couple of things from there. The Breakfast Club is still running, but with a skeleton crew, not really with volunteers and that kind of thing, obviously with COVID. And they're doing pre-wrapped snacks. So not the most fun thing to do, but snacks are still being provided. And Val Sweeting, she has graciously donated a signed jersey for a draw for us for a fundraiser, which is great because like all other committees and organizations are having issues with fundraising. We all get that. And so we're very thankful that she did donate that, and tickets are going to be available shortly, which was mentioned on Talk of the Town as it aired this morning. And Dee Palachuk from CALS was my guest. I'm new to the board, so she's got a lot of experience and she's going to be a perfect guide for me on learning the ins and outs. And she did explain a couple of the programs that are offered through CALS, as well as the launch of the draw for the Val Sweeting jersey, which will start today or tomorrow online. And then on January 14th, MD Foundation, the staff there are fantastic. They've had a lot going on there. There was an outbreak, a confirmed outbreak of COVID on December 22nd. It's still there as an outbreak, but residents have been able to leave their rooms as of January 11th, but in the common areas, of course, they have to use masks and proper protocol. No programs or anything going on. They're gonna hold back on that till about February 1st. One of the residents was ill, very ill. I do believe she's okay now. I'm not sure. Councillor Brodziak, if you can nod, I don't know. Okay, but most of the residents had mild symptoms. They were still ill, but very unfortunate to have that. And COVID, I know we see it on the news, you know, everything is happening in the seniors facilities, very sad, but when it happens at home, it hits home and it's a struggle. The staff with meals and all of that and caretaking, full PPE, changing every time for every resident's room. There were like 400 gown changes per day. So that's a lot. Hopefully a bit of normalcy will be coming to that soon and the residents can breathe a little easier. But again, my hat's off to everybody there. On the 19th, the same, the legislative meeting and the council meeting with MLA Jackie Armstrong Hominiuk. On the 21st, the Vegreville Physician Retention Recruitment Healthcare Aid Subcommittee. We had another small meeting. We're getting things in place. Councillor Rudick has a website set up and an email address online if you are interested. It is on Facebook and that kind of thing. And I believe we have 22 interested people so far. Hopefully that grows and we'll see where the course is going to take us. More details to follow on that one. 22nd is when I recorded the Talk of the Town with Dee Palichik, and it did air this morning, and tonight's council meeting. And that's my report.
Okay, thank you. I did see online today that the tickets for the Jersey are available now. Thank you. Councilor Rudick.
So many of the same things as my council colleagues have been attending. Just mention the ones that are different, I guess. January 14th, I attended RPAP, Rural Health Professionals Action Plan, has a series every month. And this month was land acknowledgement information. And it was an attempt to encourage communities to do acknowledgement of First Nations wherever their communities are. So it was a great presentation. And the same day we had Economic Development Board meeting. Many of the things have been mentioned by my fellow councillor on that board, Councillor Brodziak. I'll just make specific mention. We had a number of board members that have been inactive just due to the timing of staff and the way that COVID has worked out. I want to publicly thank them. We've had some very talented community members that have dedicated their time and energy to the board. So I want to thank Jim Sheik, Crystal Hook, and Garth Dinwiddie from a previous iteration of the board. And for this board, I want to thank Deb Chilabecki as a board member. So all of those board members have put in lots of time and energy as our community requires all of those volunteers to be able to assist us make good policy decisions as council committees and boards. So thank you to them. There was some cumulative information in the Economic Development Board in terms of the number of businesses that were started. So thank you to Infrastructure Planning and Development for working together with our staff upstairs to be able to compile a list of the number of businesses that were opened in 2020. So we hear a lot about the businesses that have closed, and we may be able to see some of them with our eyes. As we drive around the town, it might be harder to notice the ones that are new. So just a shout out to the 29 new businesses that were established in 2020. Some of them were small home-based businesses and others were larger. And so we want to thank all of those entrepreneurs that are new, as well as those that are ongoing, for their energy and enthusiasm for making sure that our community is diverse. We had Yellowhead East Health Advisory Council Virtual Health Conference, and again, a focus on ensuring that people in rural communities maintain their health during COVID, all the other issues that are coming to a head in terms of making sure that we're doing proper cancer screening, as well as ensuring that people are maintaining their mental health, both with physical and social supports. So there's a lot of resources that are coming forward, and that was strategically planned for Blue Monday. So just want to make sure that all of our citizens and our staff are feeling supported. January is typically a challenging time for a lot of people, and especially this year after a really challenging pandemic. And meeting with the MLA, I'm glad to be able to have a conversation with our MLA and be able to work on some efforts moving forward and making sure that our concerns as Vegreville continue to be brought forward. And tonight's council meeting. And I just wanted to also mention one other thing is a long-term service awards for all of our staff. We usually have a Christmas party, and I last time had mentioned how important the chamber books were to the local businesses, but we didn't get a chance to publicly acknowledge our staff that work very hard for the town of Vegreville. And we've got some staff that have been with us for a long time, ranging from 5 years to 30. And I just want to make sure that we acknowledge all of those staff as well. So congratulations for all of those that have stuck with us through some really challenging times. And thank you for all that you do, particularly on cold days like today. And that's my report.
Thank you. And you're right about acknowledging the staff. Our first safety meeting that we all can get together is going to be a long one. So, Councillor Lemko.
Your worship, I attended the Go East of Edmonton Tourism Board meeting on January 12th, and that was to prepare for the AGM that was held today. Our AGM was canceled twice because of COVID. We had planned to go in the fall to Métis Crossing at Smoky Lake, but we had it all planned, and then the restrictions came into place. So it was held today, and I'll talk a little bit about that further down. On the 12th of January, I sat in with the committee for the Doctor Appreciation Zoom call with committee members to discuss strategies around that. So there's more coming here in the near future. I did the talk of the town with Lisa from the FCSS Senior Link Lincoln Calls program. Basically, my job was to introduce her, talk a little bit about the FCSS, and then Jameson took over and had an interview with Lisa. The 15th was a preparation for our Go East AGM Zoom meeting, sort of a run through it because it was Zoom, and we had to make sure everybody had their roles and assignments as board members. On the 18th, the VTAB Tourism Advisory Board meeting, and I want to echo Tina's comments about the year we had and the success that we had as a tourism board. Upcoming in 21, this year, the Pisanko Market's running again, and it's going to have 13 dates starting in June 17th and running through to September 9th. We're probably looking for a few new board members because people have left, so that should be coming up when the terms are up in the end of March. And then lots happening in the park this year with some of the initiatives that are in place. So it's a good thing. Tourism was really good for us last year, and I'll explain more in our Go East meeting that was brought up. On the 19th, I attended the FCSS board meeting via Zoom. We had an interesting presentation there from Family Resource Network, Tasha Homanyuk, a program coordinator, and Latanya Holick, who's also a program coordinator, more involved with the Spoke program. I was amazed at the amount of work these people do there and what goes on in that facility for during COVID times, even how busy they were. They did a PowerPoint presentation, and there were pictures of kids everywhere, activities, what a needed thing in the community. And I was very impressed. We did talk a little bit about family day discussions, more of just not a discussion of what's happening, just about what could be happening. So there's a committee there, I believe, Sunshine Club, the Family Resource Network, Chambers involved. I believe Councillor Barry's on that committee, and Progies and Jam, and I think the bowling alley is on that committee. So that's ongoing. Just to reiterate, the COVID well-being survey on the town's website, that's a regional project with many FCSs in the region. So that's going out like Tofield and all around. So do fill it out, go online. Some stuff will come out of that. A grant that we received was one for the Stranger Together Community Capacity. It's a 3-phase project. I think it starts down with a downtown kickoff, a community champion portion, and then a neighborhood block parties. So it'll be interesting to see how this plays out. Then I attended the January 19th LEDGE meeting, as well as the meeting later after that with Emily Homanyuk. On the 20th, I attended a library board meeting. Some of the discussions there were around the COVID restrictions and how it has impacted the library. We continue with the curbside pickup, which has been very busy, to the point where we had to introduce another day for pickups because it was so busy. We did at length discuss and edited a number of policies. We renew policies every 3 years, or we revisit them every 3 years to make sure they're current. And we also talked about the Town of Vegreville and Library Board's letter of understanding and some of the initiatives around that, as we need to update that. Then we had that call that around with the Myron Pijik that Tina talked about, and more will come from that as as we digest the meeting itself. Today's Go East meeting, AGM. It was interesting, the amount of people involved in this. And we talked, the normal business from AGM is the financials and all those things. But we had, after the AGM, the formal part, there was a tourism partners panel discussion. And then, so throughout the whole region, there were people who discussed what was going on in COVID times. And I must say that Anya presented on behalf of the Vegreville area. And from what everyone was talking, we as a community and tourism through COVID, the amount of things that we've done and accomplished, you start talking about the drive-in fireworks, the virtual Pisinka Festival, the light up parade, the Santa parade, the haunted hike, working with those people. In 2019, they had 2,800 visitors. This year, 6,000 people went through that facility. I mean, those people buy gas, those people buy chocolate bars and chips and stop in our restaurants. That is huge for us. The Chamber of Commerce Main Street Trick or Treat was very successful. The Corn Maze, a very Vegreville Merry Christmas, where we had this virtual parade. The parades, the stand-in parades, like the one from the Christmas parade, as well as the fair parade. We did a lot of stuff. A lot of communities struggled with COVID and not the ability to do stuff. So, I mean, we talked, Lamont County discussed some things. Ukrainian Village was on the panel. The Lac La Biche parks were on the panel. There's a big increase in people going to parks. So if you're gonna want to reserve a parking spot when they open that up, better do it quick. Be camping on the street. We talked, Shane Olson with the Strathcona County talked a little bit about their 10-year strategy. There was a Juanita from Metis Crossing talked about, and that's an interesting place, folks, what they're planning there at Smoky Lake. So anyway, one of the things that was mentioned was the tourism dollars. The government invested, I think, $10 million for the parks, the cities, and they forgot that rural Alberta has tourism as well. So there's an initiative through this Go East region where they may be looking for a letter of support from the many member municipalities to talk about, hey, we matter too. So that's undertaken after today. So we have a lot to be proud of as a community for tourism and being partnered with Go East, as Kevin sits on our board and we sit on theirs. So that's great. One interesting tidbit was that Kevin's done 250 shows promoting Go East tourism east of Edmonton with 106.5 Jameson. So interesting, 250 shows. So lots of that. And we have lots of traction in this area from Go East of Edmonton. So, and tonight's council meeting. Wow, that's a lot of stuff for a guy who can't talk.
Thank you very much, Councillor Lemko. Councillor Barry, you're up.
Thank you, Your Worship. On the January 13th, the museum ad hoc committee, it was a very good meeting. Moving forward, I think that we're going to have a lot of cooperation. The biggest proposal is to broaden the horizon, can maintain the museum in the facility, but broaden the actual use of the facility and change the name to the Vegreville Historical Society so that we can actually get solicit broader membership and have them partake in helping to operate the museum portion. There will be a lot of other changes that have to take place there. The grounds, there's been the staff, I'd like to commend them. They were out and cleaning up a lot of the grounds and hauling away materials that have just been left there over time. So there's a lot of cleaning up going, and I'll leave some of the other aspects to yourself, Your Worship, to continue on that. But I think it was a very positive meeting, and I think the future is going to be very bright out there. I'm looking forward to it. On the 14th MD Minborn Board meeting, and I'd like to commend the staff out there for their handling of the difficult COVID situation there. They contained it. There was a very small outbreak. It's minimized now. I'm actually quite surprised that it hasn't been taken off the list, but I guess they're just waiting and holding on the watch. They have to go through a certain period of time, but things are certainly back. I won't say to total normal because COVID will never let it be normal at this time. On the 15th of January, I had Vermilion River Watershed Alliance Board. Not a lot going on in that in the winter. The main focus at the moment is planning for the future and looking at what can we do, working with landlord or landowners once the COVID restrictions come off. But we have established an education committee, partially with Lakeland College, and the Merman School wants to be part of it. And we're going to be targeting and looking at how we can probably try and get students involved in some of the watershed studies. And Lakeland College will be setting up an actual program where their students will be doing some monitoring of the river as part of their coursework. And some of the other students that are in the senior levels might actually be taking on some, not really educational, but working with students in other areas as part of their instructional training. On the 19th, our LEDGE meeting, and also followed that with a meeting with the MLA. And then on January the 20th, I can report for the first time, I can now say the St. Joe's General Hospital COVID Community Board meeting, and I will work on that one. As a new member, I sat quietly for most of it. They hadn't met for a few months. So one of the main aspects of it was, again, as well, and I will say that the staff and administration at the hospital handled the COVID outbreak there extremely well. Only 8 individuals were involved in it. They worked diligently at it and contained it. And they were only on the outbreak for the minimum 28 days. The watch is now over, they're off it. So kudos to them as how well they actually handled that situation at the hospital. The other thing is that they're looking at a memorial, working on some plans. We're getting back some more information to probably at the old helipad in terms of appreciation to staff who have worked at the hospital but have passed away. And so we're working on that into the future here. It was brought up about how Vegreville has good internet connections. And I will say, we were losing members off and on, and the meeting was taking a little longer because they had to keep reconnecting. Unfortunately, being in the rural area, they didn't have our connection here. So they kept getting dropped from their farmhouses and they would have to dial back in, get back onto the meeting. And I can really actually realize now how the rural areas of Canada all across need to be able to get better internet service. And the last thing on that is they were really wanting to try and keep putting out the message. It was one of the concerns the board has, that COVID is still here. And we certainly need everybody to keep realizing the social distance, not have gatherings, wear the mask correctly, properly, sanitize hands frequently, and be respectful of others. And that is a message that the Covenant Board wants us to keep saying. It's a little bit like advertising the town. We have to just keep telling people that it can happen and it can happen fast. So we have to keep up the diligent practices. And in tonight's council meeting, thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, so on the 12th of January, I met up with Dr. Jan Salasky and two of his colleagues that are both very knowledgeable when it comes to CBDs. We were offered a tour of the lab at Cromtech and their procedure for making the CBDs or extracting the CBDs. And the two other colleagues of Jan's, Dr. Susie, she went through a lot of their reports as they were making their last batch of CBDs there, and got a better understanding of what their patent actually is. There's only really two ways to extract CBDs from hemp. Their patent and what their business model is based on is scaling it up. And they can do it in a very large way where most manufacturers can only produce CBD in a very small contents at a time. And their whole patent that they're using that they're going to put them above everybody else will be the volumes that they can work in. So yeah, they both Jan's colleagues acknowledged that there was, their process of making CBDs in the lab and everything was fine. And all of their documentary, the stuff that they had taken, all the notes they had made were all the things that Health Canada would be looking for as how the procedure went. So that was a nice afternoon. And I got to talk to those guys a little more about their plans moving forward. And hopefully they can get things back on track. On the 13th, we had the Museum Ad Hoc Committee, and that's when Phil brought forward how we're going to be moving forward. The museum board itself, the foundation, will be scaling down, and there'll be the new Vegreville Historic Foundation that'll be taking its place. And it's not just for the museum, it's for all other aspects to do with the history of our community here. So Phil's helping them out and getting that done up there. And looks like hopefully we'll be getting the main computer back, and we'll be taking over 100% here in the very near future. We had a LEDS meeting on the 19th. I also met with our MLA, and I'm happy to report that a couple of our questions, she's already got back to her CAO with the answers or the right resources to find the answers. So we gave her quite a list, and she's working on it. So I appreciate that. This morning I had an Alberta Hub meeting, and Cliff, there will be a generic letter of support that'll be coming through. Bob will be sending to you. A lot of communities want, especially in rural, within the Hub region, would like the opportunity for the restaurants and some other small businesses to get open. And they just feel that, the numbers they're not significant enough for the closing all of these restaurants and these other small businesses compared to some large urban areas. So that's what the letter will be in support. We also talked about broadband, which is an ongoing topic at Hub. It never ends. And about the virtual hemp webinar that's coming up on Wednesday. It's sponsored by Hub and Innotech Alberta. So that is one of, and I actually had a bit of a practice with Jan Salasky this morning about how they've asked me to fill in for 5 minutes, so it shouldn't be that hard. Promoting our town. Today also I had a meeting on Zoom with Minister Shandro, the health minister, and it was facilitated by Michelle from the chamber and another chamber in Ponoka. And there was our MLA, Ponoka's MLA, the mayor of Ponoka, some other doctors from Ponoka, Dr. Frank and Dr. Hollins from Vegreville were in on it. And I certainly don't envy Minister Shandro's portfolio right now. There's a lot of stuff going on in healthcare, and the doctors wanted him to understand how some of the changes that they're putting into their contract and stuff would affect them. I got a little better understanding, and he has promised me that that no matter what moving forward, is that they recognize the difference between rural Alberta healthcare, doctors in particular, and large urban centers. And it's not so much the money issue. It's a lot of, some of it's they feel disrespected, and a lot of it they're overworked in smaller communities. Talked a little bit about initiatives to fund education programs for Albertans, young Albertans, and in turn, they would come back and work in communities. All the doctors acknowledge any help that they could get, the province, whatever they could do would make a big difference. And of course, when the negotiations started with the minister and the doctors, there were some things that were said right off the bat that weren't true on either side. And they both can recognize that now. And I think he said that there has been progress moving forward, and he'd like to get the deal done before the budget's released, which will be hopefully coming in March. So hopefully they'll get together and get that straightened out. And I told our local doctors that as a municipality, we're not willing to wait on the federal government or the provincial government to make their situation better. As a municipality, that if it's the quality of life or if it's us attracting another physician to help with the hours they're putting in, that we're more than willing to step up and take on that role. We're not about to wait until they move out of town because they just can't take the workload. So, and our ongoing talks that we're having with our doctors and stuff just goes to reinforce how seriously we are in taking this situation. So I want to thank those of you that work with the doctors and that have met with doctors and on different boards that you sat on, because, you know, we need to recognize and make them feel appreciated as they should be in their community. And that's it. That's what I have. So does anybody else have anything else they want to bring up? Okay, if we could just all stay on, I just want to talk to you a couple of things about Family Day and who's going to be taking on what here. So if that's nothing else to say, then I'll adjourn this meeting at 8:17, Sandra.